Here I've got a 2004 Jeep with a sunroof that does not close. Looking at another YouTube video, I was hoping that the switch was just wrong. So that's the first thing I checked, and in the 2004 Jeep Cherokee, the switch connector is right there. I'm going to take that apart, and according to another video, I am going to check to see if I've got a bad switch. I can hear a little clicking noise when I use it, so I'm thinking the switch is not bad. So I don't know if you can hear that little clicking noise back by the motor. So appears the switch is working, but I'm just going to test it real quick as well. So now that I have the switch off, I'm just going to test with just a piece of wire. Again, stealing the idea from another video just to test this this out. This connector is a little bit different, and always difficult to hold your video at the same time. So before you can understand. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to test. Can't do it and hold the camera at the same time. I'm going to test the connector, this middle one right here, and this top one, and then the middle one and the bottom one right here. Those are the three connectors that you can see that have some metal prods to them. So that's the three-way connector. So one's going to be open, one's going to be closed. And when I do that and I test it, I get the same clicking noise that I got with the switch before. So I've got power to it, and I'm just trying to bypass using this this right here as the switch. So I'll try to do one side, hear the clicking, and the other side works too. So unfortunately the sunroof is not closing as a result of that. So next step, take the headliner off and diagnose to. Okay, so I took the visors off and have this mounted up right here, and you can see I took the trim off the sunroof, and now when I'm coming back here and I'm looking, a little dark here, I don't have the light on, but can't really get to the motor in this back area. When I'm looking underneath here, you can't get to the motor, so the whole headliner needs to come off. So that's the whole process. So other videos detail it out. You got to take off some of the trim, some of the seatbelt hooks. So we're going to start the process of taking off this headliner and getting to the motor. Okay, headliner removal checkup. So I took the trim off. This is down and hooked up. I took the sun visors off. I was thinking I needed to take these handles off, but now under second review, I don't think so. I think it just slides underneath here. So I loosened up this bracket right here, just pried that off. I took off the handles that go over the top of the light here, along with a small clothes hook there. Loosened up the passenger or rear seat bracket, and now I'm working on the back. So I'll just take a quick peek back there. So over here I pried off this this light bracket. That was kind of tough to get off, actually. I wasn't sure, but it just pries off front and back clips. So just be careful with that, and then unhook the light switch when you get there. This is just a little rubber gasket. Both of those slide right off, and then this bracket right here looks like this, and I pried off on the side over here. I'll do this one, and that comes off. And now I'm working on this piece right here, and this appears to just kind of snap off as well. And that is it. And then now I have the back rim off here. You can see there's a variety of different wires. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these clips off right here, these wire segments, and this one right here to get some free and clear, and then we'll see where the next steps take me. So after I got these clips off right here on both sides, then now I'm trying to navigate this washer fluid line, get that off over here, and then you can see this is the motor culprit that I'm trying to get to, see where that takes me. But in order to work in here, I'm going to have to get this bed liner out now that I've got it all ripped out. So just a little tip. As I started yanking this bed liner out, you can see that there's a fair amount of wires in the front here that need to be navigated around. So be careful as you're taking this out. This was unhooked before. I have this laying on top of my car now since the sunroof is open. And just be careful with all the wires up front as you're yanking out this bed liner. So you're going to have to detach these from the top to pull it. Okay, decided that I'm not going to pull it all the way out. Just put it on the inside of these brackets right here and over here. So now I've got this hanging down all the way, and the wires are still all intact, kind of still semi-attached, and I have some pretty good access to what I need to do. So now on to the real work. Okay, so I was freaking out a little bit. Being the amateur that I am, I had no power to the power motor here, or to the power control center. So I had thought that I had ripped a wire out when I was yanking back the headliner up here, and then I looked back and found that I had no power to the side lights as well. So remember the connectors in the back. These connectors right here, I had to kind of prop this up and plug these back in order to get power to the control center. So evidently this is the main power source that comes up and connects and provides all the power to the headroom, and ultimately the motor and whatnot. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I tried to get after that motor up here with the bed liner just kind of hanging down, and that's just not going to work. So bed liner has to, or headliner has to come out, and in the next step, I guess, in order to do that, this plastic piece right here that the control center mounts up into needed to come off the roof. I was looking for some screws and ultimately couldn't find any, and there's just some adhesive sticky back tape that holds that component up to the roof. So off it comes, and now the only thing that I need to watch out for is the windshield washer fluid line that sits up in the bed liner. You can see that hanging down right there, and that'll stay there, and everything else is going to come out. So I'm going to disconnect those two power adapters in the back, and then yank this whole thing out and see where that takes me. So my next step was to take the headliner out, and it's laying here. I flipped it around so that I could put some power to the connectors, and then over here you'll see what next step that I did is I took this motor right here, 3 bolts, and took that off. And once I took that off, you can see that there's a gear drive mechanism there that goes up into that gear mechanism, and that's what sends the push or the pull on the sunroof. So my next step to try to figure out what exactly is going on here is whether or not this bad boy is going to spin or not. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to replace that motor and kind of go from there. But after I took this gear off, I was able to then slide the sunroof glass all the way forward manually and pop it back up into place. So at least we've got some watertight now if I need to drive it, but it's going to stay in the garage here until I can figure out the next step, and hopefully I can replace this motor, if that's... Okay, it's day 2, and I took the motor out here, 3 bolts as I illustrated. I took those 3 bolts out. Tried to turn the motor, tried to free it up. It seems stuck. I was really not quite sure if this was going to work or not. So put the 3 bolts, put the motor back in, put the 3 bolts back in, hooked up the connectors, the 2 wire connectors, and then just turned on the key over here. There's the key, and so just turn that on. And now you can see I didn't put the headliner back in yet because I want to make sure things are working. So I'm at the moment of truth. Truth be told, I already tested it out, but was a little nervous. And as you can hear, sunroof is now working. So I have the control module over here laying in the driveway, hanging out the garage. So now the next step is simply to put this headliner back in and get the reassembly. So today at lunchtime I took the liberty to go to a Wrench and Go and kind of a self-serve junkyard and ripped that out of a sunroof and I ripped this out of a sunroof for $25. Okay, headliners all back on. You can't really see it, it's kind of dark out here. Headliners back on, all the components are put back in. I'm going to turn on the key. And you can see here, we now have full function. Didn't even need to calibrate the motor, just having to put it in and everything's all working. And I only had one little screw up with the headliner, but pretty minor, the whole scheme of things. That's it.